This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are locked in with the Mothership Podcast here at Fantasy Frames. We are Fourth and Frames. I'm Rhett Manuel tonight, joined by Mr. Nate Markham, Kyle Ziegler, and Aiden Wygordon. We're going to be breaking out plays and fades for Week 6. And if you're joining us live on YouTube, we'll be answering your questions as well. And if you happen to be watching us on YouTube and want to support our content, the best way you can do that is to like this video and then subscribe to the Fantasy and Frames YouTube channel to catch any time a new podcast or short form from us drops. And you can also search for all the podcasts here on our network, Fantasy and Frames, by name on your preferred podcast platform. For us, subscribe to the Fourth and Frames podcast, and do not forget to lock in at fantasyandframes.com. We got the latest rankings for both Redraft and IDP, our staff Dynasty rankings, and all of our latest articles. Kyle, I'm going to start with you tonight. That it ended up being a good week for both of us, where both the mighty New Orleans Saints and the mighty Tennessee Titans both escaped with their first wins of the season.
Yeah. Do we even count that as a win for the Titans? I mean, do we even count it? Yes, it's a win in the win column, but holy cow, did we get lucky. We were not supposed to win that game. I don't know how we did. Oh, man, so many things. The ball in smacking Kyler Murray in the face, and we pick it up. And then, of course, DeMarco's situation, dropping it short of the goal line. My goodness, we got so lucky.
The fumble thing.
You mentioned that. The fumble where Tyler Lockett scored in the end zone off the interception. Good call there, Aiden. When does that ever happen, guys? An interception, fumble, touchdown the opposite way.
So, Kyle, before I talk to these other guys, I just need to ask you one question. What was luckier, the Tennessee Titans' first win of the season, or the fact that your Jackson Dart play actually came to pass? Because after I said there's no way you're relying on Trevor Lawrence to give you a good performance, and he ends the week QB5 with that stupid touchdown run at the end. Stupid. I hate Trevor Lawrence.
Stupid. Yeah, because if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be sticking my chest out tonight. But no. I am the biggest T-Law fan there is right now. One night only, and that was last night.
God.
Yeah. That's the
Nate,
only night.
Nate, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. Yeah, the stumble in the jungle. I saw someone call it.
Oh, God.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, my God.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm sure. It was rough. There was a lot of, is what it is. Not far from absolutely concerned. Don't get me wrong. I do move the Chiefs down in terms of winning the games that I think they should win, but still, it's week 6. We'll see when the playoffs come. Aiden, I knew that. Look, they lined me and you up on the loser's side.
This is so strange. The Titans, the Saints won. The Chiefs and Bills lost.
I know, topsy turvy day, but the DeMarco fumble was it was just horrendous. It was so bad. I mean, not only did it helped for the victory for you, which I'm happy for, but in like 2 different leagues, it cost me a win, which is sad that I had to start DeMarco in 2 different leagues, but they were really deep and desperate. Kings Classic was one I lost by 4 points. Oof. And it would have been a 6-point swing, of course, or 8-point swing, and then the other was one that was just decimated with injuries, but still, hey, we're week 6. Let's go.
Jonathan Gannon was not happy with that fumble.
No, $100,000 later, he's that's crazy.
And Brandon, as always, my man, dropping in with us every week. We appreciate you, Brandon. And he said, "Hey guys, I was really wrong, and I should be more crazy. 49ers win." And guys, the 49ers are also one of these teams where we just don't quite know how they're doing it right now. And listen, I saw a report from one of these like kind of shady sports websites. It's like Sports Keto or whatever, where they supposedly said that Mac Jones saw a body floating in the bay on game day, and then they inform somebody, and then he goes out and throws for 342 yards and 3 touchdowns. So my question was this, guys. Aiden, is it possible that Mac Jones killed a man, then went out and threw for 340 and 3 touchdowns. Yes or no?
I'm just wondering what kind of stuff are you looking at? Where-
Listen,
for all the people
Facebook
go ahead.
Facebook is like the Wild West. It's just the social media. So sometimes you just get the content to the Wild, but it's good.
I was gonna say that's the problem is looking at fantasy football content on Facebook, or
There's not much.
Well, I don't know if there's a great. So I mean, at this point, it is. I think it's the Wild West everywhere, except for right here, right now on Fantasy and Frames, fourth and Frames podcast. Of course, this is nothing short of stellar content.
Grade A content. Where tonight we're going to go over our Week 6 smash and pass plays. So let's get straight into it, fellas. Our smash players are players that are outside the top 12 quarterbacks, top 15 running backs, top 20 wide receivers, or top 10 tight ends. In the Fantasy Pros Week 6 expert consensus rankings, whereas our pass players are players that are inside the top 15 quarterbacks, top 20 running backs, top 35 wide receivers, or top 12 tight ends in that Week 6 ECR over at Fantasy Pros. So Nate, looking over the show sheet before we came live, I just told Aiden, this is going to be a gross week of fantasy football, isn't
it?
Yeah.
Because your first smash player, we've had some fun ones this year. We've probably gone into like Tyler Warren at some point, or like, Puka Nakua, like, just like guys that we like. We've had some fairly conservative smash plays this year. And sometimes you just got to pop off and do something weird and dumb because of injuries. And, well, I never thought I'd be uttering this name on the show, but Hassan Haskins plays arguably the worst team in the AFC in the Miami Dolphins. Discuss.
That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Last week, was last week's Michael Carter name not gross enough to segue into this week?
Nate, I will respond to that by saying there was at least a time where we thought Michael Carter could have fantasy value.
True. But with all the misdirection of, is it DeMarcado, is it Michael Carter? This week is it Hassan Haskins, is it Kamani Vidal? And I just don't know if I know the answer right up top, but I'm going to take the same path that I took with Michael Carter. Is that one, I know this game of smash and pass, and if I want to quote unquote win or help, you find a person who's the RB 37 on the week, and you realize they don't have to do much when volume should be key to not only match but exceed those numbers, hopefully by quite a bit. Because if you look at last week with the Hampton injury, he played immediately 8 of the 9 snaps right afterwards. Then the starters kind of came out, and it was Kamani Vidal time. But he has a relationship with Harbaugh, so I think there's maybe, and Harbaugh seems like the kind of guy that's going to give his guys, a little more runway to work with. And so you have that familiarity. You have a situation that, granted, the offensive line in LA is atrocious, about as bad as it can get. The good news is, what's a good recipe for a terrible offensive line with no tackles is you play the Miami run D, which is allowed the 5th most points to the running back. So it's kind of the, movable object versus the movable force. So hopefully it should just be the Chargers get up early. They hold the lead. Plenty of volume goes to Hassan Haskins. We'll see Kamani Vidal worked in on some passing situations. I do expect Haskins to get the goal line work myself. Obviously, that can be a point of contention for some, but it's just volume. And in a week where there's bye weeks, there's injuries, there's going to be a heavy percentage of teams that are going to rely on Hassan Haskins to at least just not lose them the week. And that's what he's going to do. I don't think you can be a game manager at running back, but you can be a high volume meh guy. And that's what he is, the high volume meh running back that's going to exceed the RB 37 on the week.
Kyle, counter argument on this Los Angeles Miami game. Is it just possible that the Chargers just go scorched earth and do the most un-Harbaugh thing of all time and throw it 40 times this week?
Yeah. I mean, Herbert could throw the ball. He's thrown the ball. I think he's thrown it 40 times before. But you know who this really could benefit, I think, is Ladd McConkey. They might actually get him going because he's the short route kind of guy. So they might have to get the ball out quick because you mentioned the offensive line's banged up there. The left tackle, Joe Alt's out. He's injured. Don't know when he's coming back. Maybe he comes back. But I don't think he's going to come back this week. And if that's the case, like Nate said, the offensive line is going to be in trouble. Maybe they don't run the football at all, to your point, Rhett. And then they just throw the ball to Ladd McConkey and Keenan Allen on the shorter routes, and maybe it's not a Quinton Johnston type game.
Regardless, I just think it's one of these games where it's sort of a fascinating layout because Amari Hampton was really starting to come on strong. And then he gets put on the IR for 4 weeks. Najee Harris, he's out for the season with the torn Achilles from a few weeks ago. I mean, it's just one of those weeks where all of a sudden you kind of knew, you thought you knew who the Chargers wanted to be. And then with a few injuries, all of a sudden it's all thrown into question again. So it makes it one of these places that until we see, I think looking at this week's game for the Chargers and seeing what that usage looks like for Hassan Haskins. I'm seeing what the pass game looks like, see if the pass game ticks up. We're going to feel a lot more comfortable about this Chargers offense heading into week 7 than we do this week, I think, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't know how I felt less comfortable with the Chargers offense as a whole over the last couple weeks. Just, we watched Justin Herbert weeks 1 and 2 be just an absolute fantasy, gold mine for us. And then my biggest concern is week 4 when he throws the ball for those, you mentioned the 40 times, and unfortunately still doesn't put up a stat line that is better than what do you have, 203 yards passing on 41 attempts. That's a product of that offensive line. That is he averaged 5 yards per attempt, so a little bit better than Spencer Rattler, but not by much. But yeah, that's going to be the new adjective is the Spencer Rattler, who
he really rathered that game.
Yeah, he did. That's we'll stick it into the vocabulary going forward.
Sounds good.
Keep it.
Although strangely, I'm not here to talk Saints. Matter of fact, let's talk Saints and let's get to Kyle with his smash play this week. It's a perfect segue because you have Chris Olave against the New England Patriots. But Kyle, I got to tell you, I don't know where you're coming from with this play, but maybe you've been keeping up with the Saints fan pages. Have you?
Well, I had to watch them last week, didn't I? With Jackson.
All of a sudden, we're starting to hear some of the most alarming things I've heard as a Saints fan. It's like, maybe Spencer Rattler's the guy. Spencer Rattler's underrated. Have you seen his QB rating this year? He hasn't been bad. He's only thrown 1 interception, and on and on and on. So, man, maybe you're just locked in and you're a closet Saints fan and you're locked in on this Olave to Rattler connection at wide receiver 26. Talk me through it.
Well, I do think, Rhett, whether you agree or not, I do think Spencer Rattler is making progress each week. He's
agreed.
Okay. Now, and also Chris Olave hasn't really had an easy time finding the end zone, but his efficiency is pretty encouraging. I mean, he leads the team in target share percentage, I should say, air yard share, total points per route run, and reception. And he also ranks second in receiving yards on the team. And let me tell you, it's not even close in targets. I mean, he's second in the league in the NFL in targets with 52. But on the team, he's got a 20 target lead almost to Jawan Johnson, who's second.
Yeah.
Now, in this week against the Patriots, there might be a little bit of a concern against Christian Gonzalez, who likely could shadow Olave in coverage. But still, with the heavy amount of volume that he continues to see, I think he should be able to crush this ranking at wide receiver 26. I think he could crush it and maybe even find the end zone this week with the amount of volume that he receives. So, yeah, I like Chris Olave this week against New England.
And, yeah, I'm not going to argue with you when you say that Chris Olave is getting a lot of volume because, my God, they're peppering this man with targets. But I just put up his player profiler page. You mentioned 54 targets, 33 receptions. Here's the scary part with the Olave profile and why he just scares me all around. On 33 receptions and 54 targets through 5 games, he has 244 receiving yards and 7.4 yards per reception.
Yep.
Yeah.
His ADOT is 7.9, which, by the way, at wide receiver puts him 80th at the position. Now, all this to say, he has been the first read on 38 targets this year, or 7.6 plays per game, which puts him third at the position. And the Saints do like to throw the ball. So I see where you are in all of this. That being said, there is, I guess the pathway I'm trying to talk about with Chris Olave is this. My man just might be empty calories right now. Like, a lot of targets, a lot of receptions, none of them very far down the field, and none of them super efficient. So,
Wandale.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, those are excellent points, Rhett. But they're probably going to trail in the game, so that's what I got going for me. Maybe we get lucky, he takes a slant, 30, 40 yards. We've seen Olave do it.
It's in his bag, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So before we get to Aiden's first smash up, we got a few questions in the chat. First off, our man Tyler, thank you for joining us. He wants to know if he should trade David Montgomery and DeAndre Swift for Bucky Irving and Jalen Warren at the PPR redraft, and his other running backs are Javonte, Travis Etienne, and Rashad White. Guys, that feels like one he should do, right?
I do. It's pretty easy. I do it pretty easily. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very straightforward one. You got two guys who are PPR monsters. They're going to catch a lot of balls. Yeah. Tyler, if you've been offered that already, accept it now and don't think twice.
Stop
But
the
leave us
show,
on.
accept it, and come back.
Leave us on while you go do it, and we'll talk more.
I keep pressing the strong one. I'm sorry, guys. All right. AXJJ is asking, should he trade Nico Collins and Ted McMillan for Justin Jefferson and Marvin Harrison Jr. or Olave? It is a half PPR redraft. Guys, I don't think we've seen the best of Jets yet, huh?
Wow.
This season.
This is close, though.
Yeah.
It's a closer trade, but Jets is still wide receiver 12 and half PPR this year without having a monster game yet. It's coming. We know that.
Yeah, but what if they put JJ McCarthy back in there when he's healthy?
Why are we?
Worse than Wentz.
Have we given up on JJ McCarthy after 2 starts? Is that where we are?
Apparently they have. Even when he was healthy, there were talks about they wanted to bench him. But
Yeah, I think that's one of the questions you got to ask yourself is, do we see as much? And I'm going to use the Ted McMillan side as far as because I think we all are in agreement that Nico hasn't performed to what our expectations were. And if there's anyone that could make a monstrous second half and actually be the wide receiver 1 over the second half of football, Nico Collins has that in him and the pedigree.
mm-hmm.
But do I think I keep looking at Bryce Young and I'm hoping that he turns a corner, and each week it's, like last week, the unsustainable touchdown rate. I'm not looking at that as an upside, but I think McMillan's just target volume should be so high going forward. I would want Nico and McMillan, but boy, I don't know what to think about exactly like Aiden was saying. Is how much of a hit would it make on Jefferson? He's quarterback proof though, right? I mean, that's kind of the easy answer.
I'd keep Nico and Ted personally, but
I think I would
close.
too.
It's close for sure.
Yeah, I think I agree too. At first, I was like, "Oh yeah," then I started looking more into it, and it's too close with Nico and Jefferson. It's not that big of a gap like you think. When you think names real quick, you're thinking, "Oh, that's a big gap," but actually, 5 games in, it's not that big of a gap.
And then Ted, I mean, he's going up against the Cowboys this week, so
Right, that's what's going to be that's
The
if you're looking
breakdown.
to trade. wait till after this week when McMillan puts up, has 12 targets, 8 catches, 145 yards and a score.
You gotta do it.
Then do it.
Yeah.
Well, here's the problem, Nate. After that, you're like, oh, maybe I should hold on.
I know.
to it.
That's exactly right. I know.
On the flip side, you can buy low end tat right now before the game happens.
That's the part that we talked about earlier, is the whole trading, is when a person who, if they invested heavily in McMillan, he's their guy, and how many, trade values are really tough in just a straight redraft. Dynasty, of course, being something different. But sorry, Rhett, let's go to top 5 low darks question.
Half 1 PPR, flex 1, Brees Hall, Travis Etienne, Cortland Sutton, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Brian Thomas Jr. Flex 1, Nate.
I'm probably still going to go. I think just the volume of Brees Hall should still be there. I don't love from a matchup standpoint against Denver, but I get the feeling personally that I don't think Justin Fields is going to be able to do much against this Denver defense, and I'll elaborate more as far as what I mean by that later in the show. And I think that could be subsequently just means a lot of dump downs, dump offs, whatever, check downs to Brees Hall to help facilitate, because he's only had, 6 targets is his high on this season so far, and I think that's that's kind of his floor, even though that's been his ceiling so far. So I lean Brees Hall.
I agree.
You guys said this might be a hot take. I'd go Sutton personally, just because after him, the Broncos look to spread around a lot, and this Jets defense has been way worse than expected. So I'd go Sutton. And he gets a lot of touchdown opportunities as well.
And Moggs makes the point that Etienne has been the most consistent so far. That's a valid point as well. Mm-hmm. Top 5 low darks with a very random question, one that we rarely get. So I'm going to put any of you on the spot, anyone at all. Bueller, kicker rankings.
Aubrey, McLaughlin, top 2.
Yeah.
Those are 2 that stick out real quick.
Matt Prater.
So go to Pro Football Reference, find sort defenses by most or the lowest red zone conversion rate, or however you want to look at that. Find those 5 teams or 6 teams that are close to the top. Then narrow it down to where they're playing. If it's outdoors and shitty, boot them, and then go with the best of the available.
Get them out of there.
Get them out of there, and if you can find a dome and one of those defenses that do that, that's recipe for at least quasi success about every week when you're trying to figure out one person.
But maybe Dicker in Miami's not that bad, Nate. Maybe Dicker in Miami.
No, that should be pretty good. Actually, Who was the Carolina Dallas scenario could be one of those good ones too.
I'm not being a homer here. I go Matt Prater for as long as I can. But
while we're talking kickers, you know who I'm missing in the league?
Who?
Rodrigo fucking Blankenship, guys.
Hey, I wonder if he's going to come back to Indy.
Or Young Wei Koo. Him too.
No, bring back Rigo. Listen, Rigo just had such a great energy to him. He looked 128 pounds soaking wet, had the big goggles that he wore every week. Mm-hmm. What a hero.
Did you see the video of him trying out? Like, he put the video out there for NFL teams. Like, he's kicking, I think what he's doing is he's kicking whoever makes the longest field goal on Sunday or Monday, he kicks that length.
Oh, no shit. That's cool.
Yeah.
Listen, what's obvious to me is that the league blackballed Rodrigo Blankenship for having too much swag, and that's okay.
He loves Legos too.
Mugs.
And look,
best team name ever.
Hey, I'm the king of saying stuff that I don't even realize I say.
Wonderful.
Mouth insert foot. All right, guys. Thanks for all the questions. Keep them rolling in, but let's keep the show rolling as well too. Aiden.
Yeah.
Yep.
How familiar are you with the American currency system, my friend?
I'm familiar.
You're very unfamiliar with pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, and then all that. Once you get into the paper money, what do they call it?
What do you mean? What do they call it?
Bills, baby.
Oh, I thought. Okay, I didn't know where you're going with that, like cash or something.
I'm sorry. So I expected you to pick it up. I apologize. It'll never happen again. I'll never
Nope.
put my trust in you to catch a joke again. But Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt called that man Bill coming off of a career game last week and playing the Chicago
Bill.
Bears as the ECR running back 17. Apparently you're in, Aiden.
Yeah, so Bills, to start here, Bills been on quite the journey so far this season. It's been quite eventful. But heading into week 1, they trade away Brian Robinson Jr. to the 49ers, all wheels up for Bill. But then we get to week 1, it's a weird split between him and Austin Eckler. And then flip a week 2, Austin Eckler tears his Achilles, and everyone's like, oh my God, Bill's about to take off. Buy low on him while you can. And then each of week 3 and 4, it's an ugly split between Bill, Chris Rodriguez between the tackles, and Jeremy McNichols for some goal line carries and some PPR opportunities as well. But this past week, whatever, we get to week 5, and it seems like Dan Quinn, this coaching staff, have trusted Bill with this backfield. There's no more Jeremy McNichols. There's no more Chris Rodriguez. It is solely Bill, and he gets those money goal line touches, which the Commanders, a very high-powered offense with Jaden Daniels, obviously, and we love that he gets all those touchdown opportunities. Now, sure, on some passing downs, might they still bring in a guy like Jeremy McNichols because Bill's unfortunately a very limited pass catcher? Sure, but he's finally the volume guy here like we wanted him from week 1 and since the season started. And this matchup with the Bears is a dream matchup. I don't know where they are now. I haven't dug into those numbers, but I do know that heading into the bye week last week, the Chicago Bears defense were number 2 in the NFL in rushing yards allowed. That means they have an awful run defense. So the combination of the volume for Bill, there's nothing standing him in the way of anymore. He's never going to come off the field in a very high-powered offense. He's just in a dream matchup. Coming off the 2 touchdowns last week, well over 100 yards. I love Bill as a smash play this week versus the extremely poor and extremely weak Bears run defense.
When the Raiders were playing the Bills, or I mean the Bears, one of the points of conversation was that Ashton Genty had seen almost all of his rushing yards after contact, and the Bears have basically allowed no point of contact early. So they were, waiting in the wings to catch you as you got a full head of steam. And I think while the Commanders aren't the exact same scenario with Genty and Bill,
No.
I think that even just the idea that they're not going to get penetration and hit them behind the line of scrimmage, it's all systems go. And that was going to be my smash pick, and then I saw that you were quick to jump on it. But I moved him into that. I had to look and see. I don't want to say exactly where I have him in my rankings. You can obviously go over to fantasyandframes.com and find that information out. But I did definitely moved him up. The Bears seem like a pretty good little cash grab against most running backs.
I got him as a borderline, I got him right there as a back end top 15 running back personally this week.
Nice. I'll check it out and get back with you.
All right, so those are our first smash plays. Nate went with Hassan Haskins against the Miami Dolphins. Kyle went with Chris Olave to New England Patriots. And Aiden went with Bill, making sense against the Chicago Bears. And Nate, I'm going to head back to you. And I'm just going to keep asking you, man. Who hurt you this week?
Here we go.
What's been not hurt me, but hurt many fantasy teams are, again, injuries, bye weeks, gross situations. It's hard to find the needle in the needle stack, as they should probably say, versus needle in the haystack type scenario of these receivers, running backs. It's the way it's probably, if you're really trying to find something difficult, a needle in a needle stack would be much more challenging. And that's maybe that's what you need, is a little injection of some offense into your team. And Ryan Flornay could be that guy, which is crazy that's what I'm saying. I don't even know if that's how you say his name personally. That's how little I knew about him, other than I know he went to SEMO, which is Southeast Missouri State. I know that in the preseason this year, it's preseason. Let's not clip that part and talk about wow. But, he was seeing some action. Not always safe. Here's the thing that I hate to do is, chase the flame from last week, because you do get burnt. But good news is, if you have a wide receiver on the receiving end of a red hot Dak Prescott, maybe that can be a little fire retardant. That's the positive, because Dak has been fantastic. It can all be George Pickens. We thought it would be Tolbert last week, and he was not existent. Did I think it was going to be Ryan Fournette? Not in the least, but he was the wide receiver 13, 9 targets, 6 catches, 114 yards. Saw 2 rushing attempts as well. So utilization on that offense across all different scenarios. Speaking of scenarios, we can look at last week as a tale of 2 of them, because he ran a route on 55% of the Cowboy dropbacks. That's not exactly enticing to a repeat performance, especially considering he saw target share 44% on those said routes. Unsustainable, I know, but let's play this role. Let's say he has earned an increase on those routes, and he gets that route share up higher than 55%. Let's assume the target share is going to drop back down to a more sustainable, normal level. But if you increase the route percentage, decrease the target share, you're in a passing attack that's going to have no depth whatsoever at wide receiver, and you're in a game that realistically, with the defense that was going to let you down, it sure seems like it's a slam dunk as far as opportunity, volume, and outperforming the wide receiver 50. What does he have? 58? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver, 2. I think wide receiver 3 is probably asking for, a lot. But I think as a flex spot in that offense, I think that there's a lot of positives that can be had from having him in your lineup.
It's a fair point, especially if you're not asking a whole bunch out of it. It's like you said, wide receiver 13 last week. Let's call a spade. That's probably, in all likelihood, a 99.9% chance that that's the absolute peak we'll ever see out of Brian Flournoy. Cool.
Oh yeah.
Fine. But to ask him to be a high tier wide receiver 4 and be flex worthy this week based off of everything you laid out, I mean, crazier things have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Moving on, and Kyle, you and Nate must have you guys must have collaborated this week. You guys must have joined over a nice bottle of something at the camp, because as gross as Ryan Flournoy might be, you arguably tried to outgross Nate by going with Tyquan Thornton against the Detroit Lions. I don't know what I signed up for this season, but I know that this week is probably the dirtiest I felt doing this show in a long time. Partially because we had the line ticker down in Miami, partially because we're talking Ryan Flournoy and Tyquan Thornton. But talk us through it.
I'm taking a page out of Nate's book, man. At wide receiver 57, he doesn't have to do much, right? I know it sounds crazy, and in most leagues, you're not really going to start Tyquan Thornton in the flex. So maybe I'm just talking to the deeper league crowd here at wide receiver 57. But here's what I'm thinking, guys. Detroit uses man coverage at the 5th highest rate in the league. Well, Thornton on the Chiefs, he leads all pass catchers in win rate against man coverage. And he ranks 2nd in yards per route run versus man coverage at 2.33. If Patrick Mahomes has time in the pocket, he should be able to connect on some of those deep shots down the field to Thornton that they've been working on throughout this season. And I admit, the Lions, they have a good pass rush. They do. But the Chiefs' offensive line is good too. So it'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting battle here at the line of scrimmage of who wins this. It feels risky. It does. But if Thornton catches, say, one deep ball, gets in the end zone, then he's probably flex worthy at that point.
Who do you think leads the NFL in air yards?
Thornton.
Tyquan Thornton.
You might have actually said that when you were talking, and I completely went over my head, and I apologize for that.
No, I actually did not mention that, so thank you, Nate.
You're welcome. I'm here to support you. Are they
anywhere?
So, Nate, as resident Chiefs fan, I was going to ask you about the Tyquan Thornton thing, because I haven't gotten my eyes on the Chiefs much this season. Mm-hmm. Is there actual fire to the smoke or what?
It's not a week in, week out. You want to take an exact situation like this. You want man, you want the opportunity to take it up over the top, because you're not going to see what you're going to see is probably most likely like weeks 1 through 5, 1, 2, 5. We're going to get 4 or 5 targets. He's got a touchdown in 3 of the 5 games. Is that a sticky stat? No, but the recipe for them to get him involved, and that's to take the top off. And when he has that ability, and obviously, Xavier Worthy, we saw him get banged up again, fell on the shoulder, wonky. He's one weird hit away from being out of that game, and then you open up an even larger target share to Thornton. It's not something that Kyle's banking on when he recommended him as a Xavier Worthy injury, but it does add credence to that elevated potential floor and ceiling. So yeah, I'm all in on Thornton, especially, DFS right now. I think Thornton's a fantastic start. Man, you imagine that DFS. Man, look at this DFS lineup we're building. Ryan Flournoy, Tyquan Thornton, Hassan Haskins. You have like $3 million left. I don't know how much DFS
Let's
money
do it,
really
man.
We should. That's what we're starting with. And then we're going to leave like $6,000 on the table and we're going to win.
How do you have all that money left? Well,
well, you don't get to take it with you? I thought it was just like a savings. All right. I can't wait to hear who. All right. So we have Flournoy. We have Haskins. I got to figure this out. Aiden, who are we adding to our DFS lineup?
I guess they have a squad parlay. I guess we'll have to just call this squad DFS.
Daniel Jones?
Do not say that, Aiden.
You want my second smash play? I
think that would be a nice little addition to our team.
Yeah, okay. I think this is going to make you guys feel less gross since Harold the fan.
It's less gross.
Yeah. I was thinking, there's like a chasm where they are in ECR at their position, but for what it's worth, I'd be very comfortable with starting, like I've seen out in the same team, but different scenarios, starting both David Njoku and Harold Fannin this week versus the Steelers. The Steelers have just been a siphon for offenses no matter the position, especially the tight end in the middle of the field. And it's not a coincidence that when rookie QBs come in, they have a strong connection with their tight ends, no less the rookie tight end with Dylan Gabriel and Harold Fannin, because from season start, they grow together, they practice together, they're on the second team, scout team, whatever you want to call it. They're working together. And Jerry Jeudy, I go as far, unfortunately, say he's a drop for me. I wasn't high on him coming into the season anyway, but he's a drop. Cedric Tillman went IR. Isaiah Bond's getting the targets, but those targets aren't really, we're probably 2 or 3 weeks away from that still translating into production. And Harold Fannin has surprisingly found the end zone a good amount this week. So again, I'd have no issue with both Njoku and Fannin, but the connection between Gabriel and Fannin looks to be really, really solid. So I personally prefer Fannin versus the Steelers this week over Njoku, but I don't think either are bad options.
Cool, man. So look, those are our second smash plays. We got Ryan Flournoy against Carolina Panthers, ECR 58. Tyquan Thornton against the Detroit Lions at ECR wide receiver 57. And then Harold Fannin at the Pittsburgh Steelers as the ECR tight end 15. Before we get into reading our ad from our good friend, the Trophy Smack, the Smitty asks that he has his running backs, which are David Montgomery, Rachaad White, and Travion Henderson, and Woody Marks. Is Breece Hall a good running back to trade for? And what running backs would you want to keep? Kyle, talk us through that.
Yeah, I was just looking here at the Breece Hall schedule. So is he a good running back? Yeah, I think so, because after Denver, he's got Carolina, Cincinnati. Cleveland's a tough matchup, but New England, Baltimore, those aren't terrible matchups. So I kind of like Breece Hall coming up in the future. So yes, to answer your question, he's a great running back, especially with that schedule. Now the second part, who would you want to keep? Monty, Rachaad White, Henderson, or Marks? I know that Marks was hot 2 weeks ago, and then he kind of cooled off this week, but I still like Woody Marks. I don't trust Nick Chubb to be that RB1 the rest of the way. He's the youngster there, Woody Marks. He's got more juice. He's got more pop. So I still believe in Woody Marks. It was just maybe a Nick Chubb kind of game. But I also like Rachaad White because there's reports that Bucky's even more hurt than we thought, right?
Yeah.
He might be out for a couple more weeks. But to answer this question solidly, which running backs would I want to keep? I would want to keep Woody Marks in this situation.
Interesting. Because Woody Marks should be the one.
Montgomery's the guy you'd want to keep.
No, I'd actually want to keep Travion. I think his best days are ahead of him. Like, I know it's been a slow start, but in most cases with rookie running backs, it is a slow start. And the Patriots, 3-2, they're kind of sneaky right now, so their best ball might be ahead of them as well. So if they start to get into some more positive game scripts, and Ramondre Stevenson, as I once heard a football coach say during an interview I did with him after a high school game, zebras don't change their stripes. Ramondre Stevenson will fumble the ball at some point. So he wants to know which three he should keep. I would say Monty, Rashad White, and Travion Henderson. You would say Woody Marks and who?
I don't have the list in front of me now. There it is. So keeps 2 out of that?
Keep 3
Keep
total.
3.
Keep 3. Which one's out?
Marks, Henderson, and Monty.
Okay.
Man, that's tricky because
I don't know, Rhett. If I could just do a little quick pushback on Henderson, we have to read the tea leaves here in New England. We want Travion Henderson to be the guy. We all do. But Vrabel keeps going to Stevenson, keeps giving him forgiveness. We have to look at that and know, as much as we want it to be Travion Henderson, the coaching staff wants it to be Stevenson.
Yeah. That's fair.
The impasse you got to look at the next 3-4 weeks and then going into the playoffs. If you want to keep some people, Rashad White's the one that honestly I think has the biggest opportunity to have no role or such a very limited role is when Bucky comes back. His role will be more diminished than anybody else. David Montgomery, I expected to take a back seat. Obviously, touchdown more dependent than anything else. That everybody's got a wart and everybody's got an issue, and that's what makes this question so difficult. And I understand that, Smitty, is that you're looking at the floor and the ceiling for everybody. But I would do Monty, Henderson, and I would probably keep Marks. I would have a hard time letting Rashad White go, but it also depends on if you can get rid of any of those guys for Breece Hall, you're probably gonna have to get rid of more than just one of those 4 names that we have in front of us. I'd be interested to hear more. Maybe jump in and let us know some of the trade opportunities that have presented themselves to you.
I do Montgomery, just example off the top. I do Montgomery. I flip Montgomery plus Rashad White for Breece Hall in an instant, probably.
Oh yeah, I think I would too. Especially Moggs wants to know, is it a dynasty or are we talking redraft? Obviously, that has a huge impact too, which I don't think we were taking into account. But
I was assuming redraft.
Me too.
Yeah, he's just saying if it's dynasty, trade White while it's hot, which I would agree with as well.
Yeah.
All right. You want to get into some? Oh, go ahead.
He says it's 2 QB superflex. He's getting a quarterback and a running back.
I hope you have another.
So
I assume so.
Yeah, so if this is a trade value question, the guy who probably gives you the best chance to get Breece Hall is probably Rashad White plus. And that's a decent sell high situation.
Yeah.
I think that's where I would go with that situation.
Me too.
But yeah, if you're trying to be like our boy Smitty and win a championship, where better to get your championship accolades than Trophy Snack, where you can get 10% off of anything they have in stock with the promo code Fantasy and Frames 10. That's belts, rings, trophies, you name it, they've got it. All you have to do is head over to trophysnack.com, put in that promo code, once again, Fantasy and Frames 10. Save yourself some money, hook up your league with a great piece for your championship bragging rights, and you can do that over with our friends at Trophy Smack. And Smitty said his trade partner wants Woody Marks. So listen.
I would do it.
Yeah, I'd do it.
Me too.
I would still do it. Yeah. Yeah, Brees Hall's the winner in this situation, and that's hard for me to say considering the hate relationship I've had with Brees Hall all offseason.
Me too.
Hey.
Brees Hall's 24 years old too. It's not like Brees Hall's 27 and you have to look at, the decline anytime soon. I think that's
No, but there's a lot of miles in that 24.
I know.
That cat carried the ball a lot at Iowa State. Like, there's miles in these legs.
And Rhett has a history with them, so there's that.
Yeah. He picked on me in the bathroom one time, so it is what it is.
Well,
Yeah.
he's alleviated all those rushing attempts by having only 2 of the 4 seasons, which granted a lot of that, or 2 of the 3 really going into this, the 200 and 209, 223.
He's alleviated the miles on his legs by averaging 4 yards per carry, and that's it the past 2 seasons. It's
Shit
fine.
team. He'll be on a new team soon. Give it time.
By the trade deadline, probably.
Yeah, see? Yeah.
All right, guys. So let's speed run these past players because, man, we appreciate all the questions we get. And we appreciate the discussion. But our past players, to remind you, players inside the top 15 quarterbacks, top 20 running backs, top 35 wide receivers, or top 12 tight ends. And Nate, we're going to start with you because once again, I feel like you took a special pride this week in finding the most niche players you could for your smash and just giving us fantasy superstars as your pass plays. And this one, it seems like somewhere we've been consistent all year, where it seems like with a pass play, it's almost, we've said, top wide receiver on an offense, playing the Denver Broncos, pass or 10, hard pass. The theme continues this week with Garrett Wilson.
The theme continues because the stats also support it. Look at the number 1 wide receiver going against Pat Surtain and company, averaging 9 fantasy points a game. Broncos allowing the 7th fewest targets per route run to the wide receiver position. Garrett Wilson, got it. 25% target share, almost a guarantee. He has 32% of them so far in the season. I don't think that it's going to amount to that wide receiver 1 number that you're hoping to get out of Garrett Wilson this week. We kind of said it earlier. Don't sit him. You don't have to say Garrett Wilson. But, when you're making that final decision of your flex spot, maybe go for the more upside play just to offset some of the lowered potential that Garrett Wilson will have this week against Pat Surtain and company.
I love that call. I love that 9 fantasy points per game against the Denver secondary. It's an unreal number because it lets you know just how dominant not only that secondary is, but that pass rush. Nick Bonito has 7 sacks through 5 games so far this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane how good that defense is and how good they are against the pass. So, man, you're not going to get an argument from me once you see the data laid out like that. Great call.
Thank you.
Kyle, let's move into your pass play because heading into the season, our discussion was always, man, Derrick Henry, that guy just never seems to age. Like, we don't know when the wheels are going to fall off. Well, guys, I don't know if you guys, we're all paying attention. Baltimore's not in a spot to run the football right now. That defense is hurt. And not just hurt, but bad and hurt. Giving up the most points and most yards in the league. And their cash cow quarterback is also out with an injury. So, there's a lot of things that they're just going against Derrick Henry right now. So, I don't want to call time of death on Derrick Henry yet because he's 1 game away from erasing all doubts. But,
Yeah.
Kyle, are we kind of watching the clock a little bit right now, especially against the Rams this week?
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth because I was actually going to ask you at the end, has the cliff come for Derrick Henry? And you guys can think about it as I lay it all out there. But it does. It pains me to say this because I am a huge Derrick Henry fan, man. I just love that guy. Obviously my background's Tennessee Titans there. Just love Derrick Henry. But, man, at ECR running back 15, the Rams are a top 10 run D, only giving up 93.6 yards on the ground. And, yeah, he scored a touchdown last week to save that fantasy day, but he only rushed for 33 yards on 15 carries, averaging 2.2 yards per touch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Starting Derrick Henry with Cooper Rush, most likely he's going to be under center, makes this situation even worse. I mean, my God, he is awful. He is arguably worse than Jake Browning. Actually,
That's
I think he is
tough to do.
worse.
Tough
He
to
is
do.
worse. Yeah, he is
Yeah.
worse than Jake. My God. And since
So
week
wait.
one, oh,
My
yeah,
God.
what?
Let's run that back because I think now's an appropriate time to just ask the question about the coaching the Dallas Cowboys had the last couple of years. Because in Dallas, when Cooper Rush kind of came into the game, you were kind of like, maybe he's not so bad.
He's okay.
Maybe.
Is he another one that hit a cliff? Because he's up there in age too, right?
He supported CeeDee Lamb, so I mean, that's more
Oh.
CeeDee Lamb though.
But last thing with Derrick Henry, since week one, he was the running back one for that week. But since then, guys, his running back finishes were running back 59, 22, okay, 42, and then 25 last week. So, again, I was going to ask you guys, Rhett already pretty much answered it, but Nate and Aiden, has Derrick Henry hit the cliff?
Go ahead, Nate.
The only positive I'm going to try to swing from this is that winter's coming, and usually that's when Derrick Henry can turn it on. I'm not saying or advocating to go buy Derrick Henry in hopes of that, because unfortunately, most of the times during winter, the Ravens have been winning football games and been able to let him run 25 times a game, not trailing by 14 and needing to put, which I don't even know who, I don't know if it's Justice Hill. I don't know what the situation is, if it's not Derrick Henry entirely either. So I don't know if there's a lot of solidarity in Baltimore right now.
Interesting, real quick before you go, Aiden. Interesting enough, Nate, you mentioned that buying low on Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
I was featured in a Fantasy Pros article for the buy low and a sell high, right? Well, the most popular buy low was actually Derrick Henry.
I'd do it.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah, just to answer your question, Kyle, like you asked, has he hit the age cliff, right?
Yeah.
So talent age cliff, I'm gonna say no, just because name brand alone and like what he's done in the past, and he seems not to age Derrick Henry. But if this is a repeated thing down the stretch this year, when he usually in years past turns it on to start next year, then I'll be concerned. But as it stands right now in the moment tonight, I'm gonna say no, but I'm very wary and very keeping an eye on it, if that makes sense.
Close. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not calling time of death, but I am watching the clock a little bit just in case time of death is coming up. Like maybe the beats per minute are slowing down on the heart monitor. Maybe the blood pressure is spiking.
Just in case we got to bring him back to life.
Yeah, just in case we got to resuscitate him. We need to watch the clock a little bit, guys. That's all I'm saying. But as we continue to talk running backs, Aiden, your first pass play of the week probably is accompanied by my favorite soundbite of the week from last week. Did y'all see the little NFL films of Demario Davis last week against the Giants?
I heard.
Where he's talking about Cam Scatterboo.
What was the exact quote? I heard about this.
He said, 44. He like one of them little bad kids. He reminded me of one of them little bad kids. Yes. And then I thought about it.
Got word of that he said.
Listen, I'm not saying that Cam Scatterboo was a bad kid. I'm not saying Cam Scatterboo was a good kid. All I'm saying is that Cam Scatterboo definitely has the energy of the kid who pretended like the Smarties were prescription pills in the playground. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my gosh.
I love him, though. I love his energy, man.
I love him. But, Aiden, you don't love him as a play against the Eagles this week as the ECR running back 18. Feels like it's a fairly obvious thing. Jalen Carter, Eagles, good at football. Well, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, you mentioned it. Rhett alludes that just now that the Eagles have an elite run defense with Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. The interior rushers they have as well. The whole unit's elite. And then on top of that, I think this is going overlooked a bit. no injury designation officially announced today that Tyrone Tracy, after missing just 2 weeks with a dislocated shoulder or some type of shoulder injury, whatever it was, will be back. And it sounds like it's old systems go for him. And the Giants are in Brian Dable, that is, are pretty excited to throw him back in there on passing down specifically. We know Cam Skadaboo has been a very limited pass catcher in the past. He can do it, but he doesn't get many opportunities to do it because he's not in passing downs. Well, if Tyrone Tracy comes back, that's not going to change. That's going to get even worse. Tracy will be back on passing downs. I still think this will be like a 64-40, maybe even as good as like 70-30 split still. But especially in PPR leagues, I don't know how you can justify starting Cam Skadaboo with Tracy back, with the receiving upside Tracy has, and the just passing down ability Tracy has, and just the going against the Eagles' elite run defense. This is going to be a nightmare. Like, sorry, Kyle, or you were on the pass, right? So sorry, Ryan. I know you loved Jackson Dart last week, but like this week is gonna be a nightmare. They're always going to be in drop back situations, which even lends less to Cam Skadaboo, and he's not going to get as many rushing attempts as people hope. So yeah, that's my reasoning to sit Cam Skadaboo, unfortunately, if you have a better option.
Well, did you tell your dad this, Aiden? Because he's a big Skadaboo fan. Did you tell your father this?
No, because why would I want to give him an advantage? I'm not telling him that. If he's watching the show, he can find out himself.
There you go.
Especially when he plays me, he can find out himself.
Fantasy and Frames, Fourth and Frames, for more than for the kids, but for the dads too.
Yeah. Okay, he can tune in.
Dad, you're invited. Aiden's dad, if you're watching out there tonight with us, we appreciate you coming on.
Come down to the basement.
We'll pressure Aiden into giving us your phone number, and we'll all send you a nice texty text at some point this week, just to tell you.
Wait till Friday morning just to see what Skadaboo does or doesn't do tonight.
Right.
Just to tell him what a nice boy he's raised.
Thank you.
There you go.
I didn't mean it anyway.
First nice thing I've ever heard from Rhett.
So let's get into these pass plays. And Nate, man, I feel you on this. I know that the player that you're about to talk about comes with a reputation of being productive. The problem is that the thing that made him be so productive in the past is not a way he's being involved with his offense this year. So go ahead and talk us through Alvin Kamara as your second pass play for this week, because in the past he's made his money as a pass catcher with some explosiveness in the run game. Mm-hmm. He's not explosive in the run game, and he's not getting the pass catching opportunity. So it feels like a smart play on your part, but I want you to talk through it a little bit more.
Yeah, I'll just keep it short and sweet. It was going in. I'm not a huge fan of Kendre Miller, but there's an obvious little bit of cannibalization amongst touches, high value and low value. But the passing game has been, a little bit of a what's going on here. It is positive to see him have 11 targets over the last 2 games, though. So if there is a silver lining. The other thing is I don't know if they're going to want to put him out there, because I highly anticipate this being one of his last weeks in New Orleans. I think that he's moving. We talked on Sunday morning, and Andy Behrens made a great point saying that they have to take the Miami Dolphins foul, just complete screw up, if you will, of not moving if they're going to move Tyreek Hill and avoid an injury. And I know this sounds like a crazy, maybe kind of, Nate's out there just making up scenarios, but I think this is a situation where they might not want to get him too heavily involved in the game if they do plan on trying to get something in return for him. And we can see more Kendre Miller. And then, of course, what happens after I put him in the show sheet, he gets hurt at practice today. So he's most likely going to he's already banged up. And so that's just one more added little element to the whole thing. Nice little plus. But
Kamara got hurt at practice?
Alvin Kamara?
Yeah, he got hurt at practice. Is that what you were saying?
I got hurt at practice today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it was an ankle injury. Yeah, he day to day, but when in practice he was limited after the injury. They don't expect it to be serious, but
he is older too. So
it is a lot of things, it's all these pieces. You're trying to build a case against a person, and it's chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4 against him. So sorry, Alvin Kamara. And I love him. He's my guy. I want him everywhere, but is what it is. So
Yeah. So moving on, Kyle, did this one hurt? Did chalking up Calvin Ridley against the Raiders as the wide receiver 29 as a pass as the wide receiver 29, which isn't an especially high spot. You're talking about a mid-level wide receiver 3, and you're still calling him a pass. I mean, I know Cam hasn't been great so far. I know there's some growing pains going on there. I know this team isn't very good. But man, that's tough pill to swallow for Calvin Ridley because coming into the season, a lot of us had pretty high expectations of him.
Yeah, and he's coming off one of his actually the best game he's had all season against the Cardinals on 10 targets, might I add. 5 catches for 131. But as great as it was, guys, I can't trust him as a wide receiver 3. Aiden, I know you dropped him, and you did say you did say you kind of regret it, right? But
I can't get him back now. Someone else did it, so.
But you know what? Honestly, I think he's going to do you a favor here, at least in this week, if he's in your opponent's lineup, because we know that the NFL primarily plays zone defense. But the Raiders, that's all they play. They very rarely go into man at all. 90% of the time, they are in zone. And that spells bad news for Calvin Ridley because his win rate against zone is only 5.9%. This actually is probably an Isle Manor game because his win rate against zone is 14.6%. So I actually like Isle Manor more than Calvin Ridley in this game. And I know Ridley's coming off that big, huge game. I just don't see the breakout, unfortunately, with Calvin Ridley.
And I love the data to back that up because the Raiders, being his own first team and Calvin Ridley seemingly struggling against that zone, I mean, it's an interesting case nonetheless. So, yeah. And let's go ahead and close out these pass plays. Nate looked at Tyquan Thornton. Or was it Nate? Or was it
Kyle?
Kyle, big Tyquan Thornton guy.
Nate has Flournoy, though.
Yeah. Aiden, not a Xavier Worthy guy, against the Detroit Lions. ECR wide receiver 12. Talk me through it. Why it's high. It was a high ranking to begin with. But go ahead and talk me through why you don't think he's going to hit that threshold this week.
So I realize this is a piping hot take. I'm sure we'd all agree. This is a piping hot take, but because everyone's saying, oh, Mahomes, he's getting back to deep ball passing. But honestly, I expect this game between the Chiefs and Lions, not way less, but a little, lower scoring than people are expecting. These are two really good defenses. They're not exactly it's hard to explain. Mahomes hasn't really been like the model of consistency all season. I know the last couple of weeks, Nate, he's been kind of on fire, but they haven't been the most consistent offense in the world the season in its entirety. And I know it's basically Worthy and Kelsey and nobody else. Maybe Thornton gets a touchdown here and there, as Kyle was saying. I don't know. Something just looks off about Worthy. You could tell that shoulder injury was maybe hampering him a bit more than they wanted to let on because he was added to the injury report with that weird swollen ankle thing a day before the night before the game. He ended up playing, but it looked like to me on film and live watch that he was a little more banged up than the coaching staff wanted to let on. I don't know. He doesn't get a ton of targets in this offense to begin with, and they use him in really gimmicky ways with jet sweeps and screens and run after catch stuff. So I don't know. I don't really buy the hype with Xavier Worthy, especially ECR wide receiver 12 against a very good Lions defense. They're going to have to get him a lot of scheme touches to really get him going, especially with seemingly playing through injury.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rhett. Okay. I was just going to basically say exactly what you said, Aiden. I like that call on the low scoring game because in my article for Plays and Fades that comes out at fantasyandframes.com tomorrow, I faded some Lions, Jared Goff and Jameson Williams, because I do believe that game is going to be on the lower scoring side on both sides. So good call on that, Aiden. Go ahead, Rhett.
And I was going to ask Nate, being the Chiefs guy around here, here's your that wide receiver room in particular, Xavier Worthy, just from a fan's perspective.
No, I do think. I mean, Worthy's impressed me more with his ability to have more branches in the route tree than just as it's not unfair to say gimmicky approach, because what we see out of him is an exploitation of his skill set, which is speed, and and the Chiefs play calling. And while it is gimmicky, that's kind of been notoriety. It's gimmick as long as he can build on that with having a route tree that gets him the ball in space and can do things with that. But there's a lot of concerns with that. Is number one, while being in space, what we've seen is twice now him running over the middle, deep routes, usually over in crossing form. He's made contact with another player, and albeit one has been his own in Travis Kelce, but then it was kind of it wasn't even really a tackle on one play before the tackle, and you saw him just get rerouted, and he's a small frame guy. So there's enough things working into it. I'm still a believer that he has the ability to be more than just a gadget wide receiver. But going forward, Rashee Rice is going to be back next week, I guess.
Next week,
yeah.
Big time.
This is the time to sell Xavier Worthy and buy Rashee Rice, I think.
Yeah, you really hope that he has a good week this week, and then you can, if it presents itself. Stay healthy, Xavier. For my sake.
Yeah.
And before we get out of here, major cameo from a big time superstar, my guy Tip Major, Scott Fishbowl nemesis this year, as I proclaimed him. Former guest of the show, all around solid dude. What up, Tip? Good to see you. Good to have you join us tonight, my friend. But yeah, guys, that's our Smash and Pass for week 5. Week 6, let's go through them again. Nate went with Hassan Haskins and Ryan Portnoy as the Smash players. Kyle went with Chris Olave and Tyquan Thornton. And Aiden went with Bill. Call that man Bill, not by his government name, and Harold Fannin. And our pass plays, Nate went with Garrett Wilson and Alvin Kamara. Kyle went with Derrick Henry and Calvin Ridley. And Aiden went with Cam Scatterboot and Xavier Worthy. And before we get out of here, guys, let's give a shout out to our friends over at Fast Draft, where the season is heating up, and Fast Draft has us hooked up with these new games, such as the Flex 6 Frenzy, a 10-team, 6-round game. You can pick any running backs, wide receivers, or tight ends on a 6-round, 20-second clock. So Nate's going to be running in this week with that Flournoy, Tyquan Thornton, Rico Dowdle, Harold Fannin, Daniel Jones, just mismatch, whatever it is. Going crazy with the point to be to pick your best 6 in PPR scoring on the Sunday slate and make a profit, or the Quick 6 Super Slam where you're just straight up picking 6 guys for the Sunday games. No salary cap, no problem. You could pick your best 6 and make it happen over at Fast Draft. So before we get out of here, guys, go ahead and hit us with one parting shot. Let's go around the friends. Let's start with you, Nate.
Let's say any questions you may have had that you didn't have answered. Sunday morning, 8 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Central. Myself, Andy Behrens, Jorge Edwards, Dave Ibrahim will answer all your questions. We will kind of break down some of the games and some of the things to pay attention to going forward. So we'd love to see you jump in Sunday, say hey.
Aiden?
Yeah, if you're looking for some players that are still maybe floating around in your league or not, or just looking for some general trade targets based off of some waiver claims, head over to my weekly waiver article for week 6 at fantasyframes.com and go check that out.
Kyle?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier, but again, it's the plays and fades. They come out tomorrow at some point, maybe tomorrow afternoon. I take a really deep dive into that, guys. So check that out, fantasyandframes.com. I go deep in the analytics there on some of these guys. Wide receiver, quarterback matchups. I get into it there with some dudes. So check it out. Plays and fades, fantasyandframes.com tomorrow.
So he's going to he's going to dick her down to Miami, and he's going to go deep in some dudes at tight end. Gotcha.
Well,
okay, let's
gotcha.
end the show.
I am the master at the words, Nate.
Yep. Wordsmith.
You should include that in your next article. That exactly.
The headline.
And before I get out of here, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to eat a little bit of crow for the fantasy community, at least for 1 week. I've been dying on this hill for 3 years now, but for 1 week, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, and I might even zoom in a little bit. Guys, I was wrong on Trevor Lawrence this week. As a man who can stand on his own 2 feet, I can admit when I can concede defeat and let people know I was wrong. I told Kyle that if it was a wild hill to die on to put his hopes in Trevor Lawrence, and guess what? Trevor Lawrence responded with a stumble in the jungle and a top 5 fantasy quarterback week. So going forward, I'll say this. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll be fine with it. But you know what? Besides that, guys, we will always appreciate having each and every one of you join us every week and be back with us and lock in next week for our Week 7 edition of Smash or Pass, where our boy, the legend himself, the Timu Travis Kelce of Fantasy and Frames, Drew Scott, makes his long-awaited return, ladies and gentlemen. So for myself, Rhett Manuel at R Manuel Sports, for Nate Markham at Nate Markham, for Aiden Weingartner at Aiden Weingartner 13, and for Kyle Ziegler at KZ1180. We are Fantasy. We are Fourth and Frames on the Fantasy and Frames Network. And ladies and gentlemen, toodles.